Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. The other day, I went to visit you at your house, Robin, and you have a beautiful Christmas tree up there.
Thank you.
And I was asking you about the different ornaments, and you have an amazing collection of memorabilia from people who have given you ornaments, and there's a story behind every ornament. And as you were telling me each story, there was even an ornament from me, by the way, on that tree. But some of the people who are represented by those ornaments are no longer with us. They passed away.
Exactly.
And it's kind of one of those things. Well, this is the time of year where we think about the fact that life is not finite. You do not end when it appears you end. At least that's the belief. And it's something we want to believe. It's not easy to believe. It's not easy to understand. It really isn't. I wish it was easier. But obviously, it's what we are. It's what we're celebrating. We're celebrating the fact that we don't have to die. We have on the phone Dr. Susan Allison. I'm looking forward to this interview so much. She has a book called "You Don't Have to Die to Go to Heaven."
Yes.
How to find guidance and healing in the spiritual realms. Dr. Allison is a therapist with a doctorate in transpersonal psychology. She's been honored as the Woman of the Year in California by the Santa Cruz Women's Commission. And with that said, let's just say good morning to Dr. Allison. Good morning, Doctor.
Oh, good morning, Larry. How are you?
Good. Robin says you have a storm going on. Where are you?
I'm in Central California, and we have had a horrible drought, and so it's such a blessing to wake up and hear rain on my roof. But right before I was going to call you, the power went out.
Oh, no.
So I told her, I said, Robin, we have to say a little prayer that we can get through 25 minutes with the power on, and it's on now. So I think we're good to go.
So are we talking figuratively that we can go to heaven, or actually? And I guess the follow-up question, you can just combine it with this one, is have you done this?
Yes, and I guess I'd like to use the word visit. And we can visit heaven, and I have found, and shamans have been doing this for 60,000 years, going to they call them three realms, the lower world, a middle world, and an upper world, that they could go into like a meditative trance and listen to a drum or rattle or use the breath and be able to spirit travel to these places. And you're in your subconscious mind. You're not in the conscious mind that we have, Larry, right now, where we're chatting.
Right.
You're in a deeper state, and actually they've measured the brain waves during these deep trance journeys, and you're in theta waves, theta brain waves, which are deeper than beta waves. And you travel, I call it spirit traveling, but you travel to these realms. It's not in your imagination. It's you're not just sitting there and squeezing your head and making it happen.
Is it clear?
Not like that. Oh, super clear, super clear. It's amazing.
All right. So, okay, a couple of things I have just based on what you said. You're referring to them as places. That means that they exist someplace else other than here.
Yes.
So where is that place?
Well, that's an interesting question, and people tend to talk about heaven. They look up and they think about heaven being up. I was raised in a fairly fundamentalist Christian church, and so they talked about heaven being above us and so on, and the Bible says that, and other religions speak of paradise and the world on high, and so on. But that literally is what has happened when I've done this journey work since 1993, is that when I go into this meditative state and I drop into this theta brainwave, I find myself on a path usually, and I go to this middle world first, and I have what's called my tree of life there, which I climb, and I have some kind of transportation that comes and gets me, and I travel. And
like a car, or a rocket?
You know, it's really funny because the chapter in my book called Upward Travel, it's everything has come practically. Once a beautiful kind of Cinderella coach came, which was kind of hysterical. A taxi cab came once. But really, usually I have an eagle, which is a power animal of mine that in chapter 2 of the book I talk about how to find your power animal. But an eagle carries me, and a swan carries me up into the upper world, and the upper world is a heavenly realm that's full of light.
We've got 100 questions, Doctor. Okay, so,
I know.
All right, so let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Science can reproduce wavelengths. Can the wavelengths you're talking about be reproduced by devices, by electronic things?
I'm not really an expert in that area, but I do know quite a bit about quantum physics, and everything is energy, Larry.
So do we do this accidentally?
Everything.
If I have a dream that I'm talking to my mom, and this happens now, and then my mom has passed away. So and my dad and anybody else who's ever passed away. Once in a while, you have a dream about them, it feels so real.
That's right.
Am I doing that, or is my brain just telling me a story that includes them?
I love that. I love what you're talking about, because the one spirit world called the middle world is very much like a dreamscape. It's like your dreams, and it's my belief that your parents are coming to you, that they are visiting you, and I believe that we just don't invite them. And in my book, I talk about how you can invite them more. You can ask a question like, Larry, let's say you're just walking around your kitchen. You can say, "Oh, Mom, what was that cookie recipe that you used to make that I loved?" And actually you'll hear an answer. And I have done this for a long, long time. Both my parents have passed away. And I talk to them. My husband passed away 2 years ago. He talks to me all the time. And I feel that we just don't realize that these wonderful spirit beings, these beings we've loved so much, are just a breath away. We can't see them. There's this thin veil.
So when we finally die and we go to heaven, is everybody there, including? Are we still having relationships with them? Or
yes, absolutely yes. When you journey, and I hope you will use my book and do this work, but when you journey to these worlds, to these realms, to these other dimensions, you will meet spirit allies, ancestors, departed loved ones, teachers, guides, and
dogs too.
Yeah,
dogs too.
Dogs too. I talk about my dog Rusty. One of my journeys. I in my heaven. That's why I believe it's all up to the individual. Your heaven, Larry. Your heaven, Robin. Your level. I call it a level of heaven because there's some places we can't go there. It's going to be yours, and there will be animals there if you need them to be there. And so one day I was journeying. My dog Rusty, this beautiful Irish setter, comes loping up the beach, 85 pounds, puts both paws on my chest and knocked me over and licked my face. And I was with him, and he was super healthy, which he wasn't when he died. And my parents are there. My husband, I see my husband, and that gave me such comfort, especially after his death.
Okay, in the Bible, the disciples they ask Jesus, and I'm not an expert on this. I'm just drawing from Sunday school, but they ask Jesus, if you have several wives and then you die and you go to heaven, and are they all there? I guess these guys wanted more than one wife, but I mean, are they? What happens to that relationship if you're married? Like you referring to your husband, if somebody has married again, and they die, what happens when you get there?
You know what I have found there? Only love. It is our human brain that wants to separate. We want to separate. We want to say, well, I was married to this person and we divorced and it wasn't pleasant, and then I married this person, or I love this person more. Well, in heaven, you love everyone. everyone.
But there's
And-
no sex, right? And
I just love this interview. You get right down to it, Larry.
well, I'm thinking,
We need that.
I'm thinking, everything in the world, everything in creation has a purpose, and
That's right.
And in heaven, you would think you don't really need to reproduce. So would you need?
No, but guess what?
Huh?
Everything is energy, and if you have had a beautiful relationship with someone where there's intimacy,
Yeah.
you feel energy passing between you, correct? You feel an energy.
Something passing
sure.
between us. Yeah.
All right. So what I have found there is I have felt that oneness, that unity with my husband. And, we are making love in heaven, but it's obviously he doesn't have a body, and when I'm there, I'm in a subconscious state. I'm energy, but the energy between us is lovemaking. It's intimacy, and so both Plato and Socrates talk about the afterlife, and they talk about what is possible, and they say
So-
there's communication, and there is that intimacy, that joining of people.
Okay, going back to the Bible, you said he doesn't have a body. Now, this is a question I've always had.
Sure.
If I were to lose my arm, I would still be here. If I would lose my legs, my arm, I would still be here. So what would
Right.
be left? And we've seen, unfortunately, some soldiers who have been
Yeah.
hurt in that way. So
Yeah.
the spirit is still right there in whatever's still living. So I've often thought that, okay, the body is not you. It's just like a vehicle that gets you around. And when you die, you don't need the vehicle anymore.
Right.
But again, going back to the Bible, I don't know what you believe, and I don't even know what to believe. I just know that it says that Jesus was physical.
That's right.
He was asking people to
That's
touch
right.
him, right?
That's right. But guess why? Because he appeared in the way that Mary needed him to appear. He appeared in the way that the disciples could believe that he still existed, that he still, that the essence and spirit of who he was alive. I love that you're bringing this up, because when you do this journey work, the beings you see are appearing the way you need them to appear so that you can connect more with them. But at times I've said, just appear the way you really are, or the way you need to, and they are light. They are all light. And so, which is, the quantum physics definition, often people talk about energy, is densely packed light.
Do you get to seek people out? Like, let's say you feel bad, you owe somebody an apology from 30, 40 years ago, and you say, gosh, you know what? They've died.
Yeah.
And when I get to heaven, I'm going to find them, and I'm going to say, I am
That's right.
I am so sorry. Does this happen?
Yes, it happens, and I do believe in there's some Christian faiths that believe that you have levels where you are in heaven, that you maybe start at one level and you need to work through some stuff. I know that Catholics believe in purgatory, and there is a middle world that I have found and that shamans believe exists. There's a middle world where souls perhaps are there for up to 100 years because they are working through whether you call it your karma, you work through your issues, your character defects. So you're working through stuff. So it's not that we just have to do this here, that we have to try to transform here and become better people every day. We are also doing it there. We're
All right,
doing it there.
Let's take a little break and be right back. There's still 100 more questions.
Of course.
This is fascinating to me. Dr. Susan Allison has written the book, You Don't Have to Die to Go to Heaven. We're going to find out how to get the book and ask more questions when we come back. This is WOCA.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Our Thursday will be a nice one with a mix of clouds and sun and a high of 75 to 79. Clear to partly cloudy Thursday night with lows ranging from the low and mid-50s and a few inland spots to the low 60s on the coast. Friday, mostly sunny and pleasant, high 76 to 80. On Saturday, partly sunny and warm, high 78 to 82. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Central Florida Eye Institute is the area's leader in laser vision correction. From high-definition refraction surgery and LASIK vision correction to custom cataract, glaucoma, and diabetic treatment, you can count on Dr. Crowley and his effective, friendly staff to provide you with the quality care you deserve. Call 352-237-8400 for an appointment or more information. That number again is 352-237-8400. Looking forward to service your vision needs.
Have you heard of Hyperdirectory? When looking for local businesses, go to hyper.directory. No need for www, no need for .com, just hyper.directory. Connecting customers to local companies when it matters most. Hyperdirectory is your local business directory partnered with the Ocala Chamber and Economic Partnership to bring you trusted local businesses. Keeping Ocala local. Use hyper.directory. No www, not even .com, just hyper.directory. Connecting customers to businesses when it matters most.
All right, 9 minutes now before 10 o'clock. The time just goes too fast when the interviews are good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Dr. Susan Allison is on the phone out in California where it's raining, and the phone is working so good. So far, so good, right?
Yay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hooray.
All right, so we're talking about the book, You Don't Have to Die to Go to Heaven, and in the book you help us understand how to do this. Is it sort of like, what do we do? Meditating or something?
Yeah, it's like meditating. Basically, and again, shamans have been doing this for probably 60,000 years.
Can I ask a question? I don't know what a shaman is. You mentioned that
All
before.
Right. Yeah, spiritual. He or she is a spiritual leader of an indigenous tribe. Usually, we still have shamans all over the world. We have them in Siberia, we have them in Scandinavia, Lapland, Alaska, Hawaii. So a shaman is Mexico. Shamans are spiritual leaders of their community. And they were responsible for helping the tribe, whether an individual is sick and needs healing, or the tribe needs healing on some level, or they need to find more game, or they need to move and figure out where they're going. The shaman would go into a trance, usually listening to a drum or rattle, that there's a sound, kind of like a mantra. I've been meditating for years and years, and I have a mantra that I use in transcendental meditation. So it is like meditation, but often you listen to a sound like a drum. And I have drumming that's free on my website, drsusanallison.com. People can download it and use it. But you close your eyes, relax, turn off all your electronic devices. You don't want to be disturbed for at least 30 minutes. You start listening to the drumming. Use an eye mask to shut out the light, which really helps, or a scarf. And what happens is you drop into this deep brainwave state that's called theta. You're in this deep, deep, relaxed state. And the drumming, and you've already set your intention. Let's say you're going to go to the middle world. You set an intention to be on a path. You then are on this path. You set an intention to get to your place of power in the middle world, which is my first chapter about that. And then you invite in beings that love you in that world. So it's very much like meditation, yes.
When you go to that world and you're going to see somebody like I was 30 when my dad died. So if I, if he and I sort of see each other, will I see him the way he was before he died, and will he see me the way I was before he died, or as I am now?
The visual. You will see him in a way the way you need to, but everybody I have seen, they're in their prime, so you don't see them. I mean, in this level of heaven, everything is healed. Everything is I said, it's all.
But I thought we had no bodies. I thought we were just
healed. But they appear the way you need them.
Oh, I
Larry.
see what you're saying.
Just like Jesus, you know how Jesus appeared, the way the disciples and Mary needed him to appear so they would believe. Well, Robin, your father will appear the way he was, healthy and in his prime. And I don't know how they see us because I'm not them, but I believe that I am who I am now, pretty much. But I go there as I am now. But they are, like, my husband looks like he did on our wedding day.
Oh,
he had we had a Hawaiian wedding. He has this Hawaiian shirt on. He had kind of long. He was a professional surfer. His hair is a little bit long.
A professional surfer.
Yes.
Now that's heaven on earth, right there.
It sure was. It was an absolutely heavenly marriage. Yeah, definitely.
Oh my goodness.
My soulmate.
Can
definitely.
So I'm trying to get my head. I'm trying to think scientifically a little bit here because you said wavelengths, and it makes sense when you say wavelengths.
Yeah.
And I just want to share a thought I've had.
Sure.
That if we see them at wavelengths, that means we are at a wavelength too. It's just that we're so in tune to it, we feel like we're solid. I know what Robin looks like, and if I were with you, I could see you. Okay. And I've often thought that maybe, this is going to sound far-fetched, but keep in mind I do a radio show, which means I'm a little bit nutty. Okay. But I've often thought, well, maybe every planet has life on it, but we can't see it because they've got their own wavelength going on.
Good observation.
I think you're onto something, because there is a chapter in my book called Stars, Moon, and Sun, and you can journey to stars. And when I go there, there's one, I love the Pleiades, and that's where I tend to go, and I can feel these beings, and I can hear them. It's like one time I went, they had me sit in this room in the center, and it was full of light. And I just heard a voice. They talk about in the Bible, that there's so much light, and that, God is speaking to Moses in a burning bush, or an angel is speaking to Jacob. And so it's unbelievable, but I think you're absolutely right that these beings exist in these other worlds, but they're energy, and they're not in the same form we are. We're in this form, but we think we're solid, but we're actually made of
I don't
light.
think I'm solid. let me. Okay, so is there a hell? I guess I need to ask that question.
Oh, good. Yeah, you're the second. I've had like 10 interviews in like 5 days, but one other person asked me that, and you know what? I have never seen such a place. However, I have seen levels, and so it's my belief, and I think it's the Mormons that also believe this, but I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. But there are levels, and so in other words, let's say that you haven't been the best person here. You have harmed people. I do believe that you are at a certain level, and you kind of have to work your way up. You have to atone. You have to make amends. You have to feel what you've done. You have to feel contrite and sorry and ask for forgiveness, is what I have seen. But I've never seen a physical place that's hell. But I think my mom was so wise. My mother used to say that our hell is within us. And I think the hell is a separation from God. It's a separation from love. It's a separation from others. So your hell is your own making. And I have seen people that it's like my father had a lot of work to do, and he is working through his stuff, I'm sure.
Okay, I know we have to wrap it up, and we've got to get the information out there so people can get the book. But one quick question, because we only got a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Can my loved ones? Can they hear me as clearly if I simply talk to them or pray to them? I know we pray to God, but sometimes I do this. I'll go to the cemetery and I'll talk to them.
Please do.
So do they hear me as clearly, or would I need to travel there through your technique to be heard clearer?
Okay, you can do both. I would suggest you do both, and I really hope both of you do my book. You can speak to them, and they do hear you. And when you were saying about wanting to apologize to someone, I wanted to follow up by saying, "Don't do it now." Like write a letter. Go to the cemetery. Go wherever you need to. Go somewhere beautiful. You guys have a beautiful ocean there. Go there and offer up an apology, because you might as well do it now. But speak to them; they do hear you.
Doctor,
and there's all kinds of ways in the book where you can talk to them now and get answers.
We got 30 seconds. The book is called "You Don't Have to Die to Go to Heaven." Dr. Susan Allison wrote the book. Her name is spelled exactly as it sounds. And do you have a website?
Yes, it's drdrsusanallison.com. People can get drumming music there, and they can order my book. And I also have a CD.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor. That was fascinating. We'll be right back.
Attic Mall Studios. This is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Carol McHugh. Donald Trump says his call for banning the entry of Muslims into the U.S. is just a temporary solution to a serious problem.
You have tremendous hatred out there, and until we find out what's going on, and that's all I'm saying, I want this to be temporary.
Trump was on Fox and Friends. The GOP presidential frontrunner says the Muslim suspects behind the California massacre are a prime example of the need for proper vetting. A former Gitmo detainee has gone back to his old...
Ibrahim Khosi, a former staffer to Osama bin Laden, who was released from the prison at Guantanamo Bay in 2012, is now a leader with al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula operating in Yemen.